My name is Callum. I am 27 years old and I drive for a ride sharing company here in London. It is not the glamorous life I imagined when I started university. But life throws curveballs. I was studying business at UCL, but my dad passed away suddenly during my sophomore year, heart attack out of nowhere, and everything fell apart. Mom could not handle the bills alone, and my little sister Freya was only 12 at the time. So I dropped out, picked up whatever jobs I could, and eventually landed on driving. It is flexible enough to let me check in on Freya after school, and the tips help keep the lights on in our cramped flat in Hackney. I am white, grew up in a working class neighborhood, nothing fancy. Most nights I cruise the streets until my eyes burn, dodging traffic and dealing with drunk passengers. But it pays the rent. It was one of those brutal London autumn evenings, the kind where the wind whips off the Thames and turns a drizzle into a full on downpour. The city was alive with neon reflections on wet pavement. Streetlights blurred through the rain-streaked windscreen of my battered Honda Civic. I had just wrapped up my last fare, dropping off a group of college kids at a bar in Soho, and I was ready to call it quits. My phone buzzed with low battery warnings, and my back ached from hours behind the wheel. The streets were emptying out, just a few umbrellas bobbing along the pavements like lost ships. I was heading home, navigating through the slick roads near Hyde Park, when I spotted her. She was stumbling along the edge of the park, no umbrella, no coat, just a thin blazer clinging to her like a second skin. The rain pounded down relentlessly, turning the paths into rivers. She looked as though she had been caught in the storm for a while, her hair plastered to her face, shoes squelching with every step. Then it happened. She slipped on a patch of wet leaves, arms flailing as she went down hard on one knee. I slammed on the brakes without thinking, my tires skidding a bit on the glossy asphalt. Heart racing, I pulled over and rolled down the window. Hey, you okay? I shouted over the roar of the rain. She looked up, startled, wiping mud from her hands. Even in the dim light, I could see she was older, mid 40s perhaps, but there was something striking about her. Sharp features, dark hair now soaked, and eyes that held a mix of exhaustion and determination. She pushed herself up, wincing a little. I am fine, she called back, but her voice shook, just clumsy in the rain. She glanced around, probably realizing how deserted the area was. No taxis in sight, no buses running. I hesitated for a second. Company policy says no unsolicited pickups, but she looked miserable and I could not just drive off. Look, I am off the clock, but I can give you a lift if you need one. No charge, just get out of this mess. She paused, rain dripping from her chin, then nodded. Thank you. Really? She hurried over and slid into the passenger seat, bringing the scent of wet wool and faint perfume with her. I cranked up the heat and handed her a spare hoodie from the back. Here, dry off a bit. Here you are. She gave me an address in an older part of town near Bloomsbury. Nice area, but not flashy. As I pulled away, we sat in awkward silence at first, the wiper slapping rhythmically. Then she laughed. A short, self deprecating sound. This is ridiculous. I had a late meeting and my phone died in the rain. Could not call a ride. Figures it had to pour like this. I chuckled too, trying to lighten the mood. Yeah, London weather has a sense of humor. I'm Callum, by the way. Eleanor, she replied, wrapping the hoodie around her shoulders. We chatted a little more, nothing deep, just surface stuff. She mentioned working in HR for a media company, sounding tired from a long day. I told her about my shifts, keeping it light. It felt easy, like talking to someone who had seen a few storms herself. By the time we reached her street, the rain had eased to a steady patter. She directed me to a row of terraced houses, cozy but worn. This is me. Thanks again, Callum. You saved my night. She reached for the door, then froze. Oh no! She patted her pockets frantically. My keys and my phone are completely dead from the water, she groaned, leaning back. I must have left them at the office. Great. I said, you got a spare somewhere or a friend nearby? She shook her head. No one is around. And in this weather? We both sat there, the engine humming. There was a small hotel a block away. I had passed it on the way. Look, there is a place right around the corner. I can walk you over. Make sure you get a room. I cannot leave you out here. She hesitated, but agreed. We dashed through the rain to the lobby, both of us dripping as though we had swum there. The place was old school, dim lights and faded carpet. The night clerk, a bored man in his 50s, looked up from his phone. Behind him, a couple of guests lingered near the lifts. Eleanor explained her situation, asking for a single room. The clerk typed slowly, eyeing us both, her in her soaked blazer, me in my casual jacket, water pooling at our feet. One room, double bed? He asked, glancing between us with a smirk. You paying for him too, madam? Eleanor's face flushed. No, just for me. He is just helping. But the damage was done. A middle aged woman waiting for the lift turned, her eyes narrowing. She whispered to her husband loud enough to hear. Rainy night hookup with a young guy. Bold move for her age. The clerk chuckled under his breath, handing over the key card while noting something on his pad. Check odd couple. I felt my jaw tighten, heat rising in my cheeks. Who were these people to judge? I was just being decent. Eleanor grabbed the key, muttering thanks, her shoulders tense. We headed to the lift in silence, but the whispers followed. Looks like she is paying for company tonight. As the doors closed, she avoided my eyes. I am so sorry about this. I shrugged, trying to play it cool. Do not worry, people talk rubbish all the time, but inside it stung. The assumptions about me being some opportunist, her some desperate older woman. We reached her floor. I walked her to the door. You good? She nodded. Thanks, Callum, really. I turned to leave, but the hallway echoed with more murmurs from passing guests. Back in my car, I gripped the wheel, replaying those judgmental stares. What the hell had just happened? A simple act of kindness twisted into something sleazy. I drove home, the rain mocking me, wondering if this night would haunt us both. Little did I know, it was just the start. My head throbbed from lack of sleep, replaying those judgmental stares in the hotel lobby. I dragged myself out of bed, the rain still pattering against my flat window like it was mocking me. Freya was already up, pouring cereal in our tiny kitchen. You look like rubbish, Callum, she said with that blunt teenage honesty. I forced a smile. Long night. How is school? We chatted about her maths test, but my mind wandered back to Eleanor. I hoped she had got some rest, that the whole mess had not kept her up like it had me. I headed out for my first shift, cruising through the damp streets of London. The city was waking up, commuters huddled under awnings, coffee shops steaming with activity. I figured I would swing by her office building later to drop off the hoodie she had borrowed. It was still damp in my boot, no big deal, right? Just being polite. But as the day wore on, a weird unease settled in my gut. My phone buzzed with ride requests, keeping me busy. But between fares, I could not shake the feeling that last night was not just a fluke. It was the start of something messy. I parked near her building in the city, a sleek glass tower that screamed corporate success. I grabbed the hoodie, folded it neatly, and walked to the lobby. The security guard gave me a once over jeans hoodie, nothing fancy, but let me through after I said I was dropping something off. I approached the reception desk, asking for Eleanor by name. The woman behind the counter raised an eyebrow. She is in a meeting. You can leave it here. I handed it over with a note. Hope you are dried out. Take care, Callum. As I turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of her through the glass doors, poised, professional, chatting with colleagues. She looked fine, but something in her posture seemed off, like she was carrying extra weight. Back in my car, I shook it off and focused on work, but doubt crept in. Why had she not texted? My number was on the note from that night. Maybe she was just busy, or maybe those lobby whispers had got to her too. I pushed the thought away and picked up Freya from her after school program. Listening to her ramble about drama club, I crashed early, telling myself it was over. A random act of kindness, nothing more. The day started the same, but cracks showed. I was midway through a fare when my phone pinged with a message from a buddy in the driver's group chat. Yo, Callum, you hear about that HR lady from the media firm? Word is she was at a hotel with some young dude. Sketchy. My stomach dropped. How the hell had that spread? I did not reply, just focused on the road. Later, I pulled over and scrolled local forums. Nothing specific, but paranoia hit. Was it us? I decided to check in subtly. I stopped at a coffee shop near her office, grabbed two hot coffees, and left one at the reception with another note. For the rainy days, stay warm, Callum. It felt like a small gesture, nothing pushy, but when I drove by, the cup was still there, untouched. The note crumpled beside it. Ouch! She had not even picked it up. I felt like an idiot. Maybe she thought I was overstepping, or worse, maybe the rumors had reached her. I did not know it then, but they had. Eleanor was dealing with her own fallout. A colleague in the break room leaned in with a sly grin. Rough night. Saw you heading out late. Anyone special waiting? She brushed it off, but then her email dinged with an anonymous message. Is the HR manager hiring personal drivers now? Careful with those late night hotel stays. Her heart sank. Who sent that? And how did they know? She spotted me outside the building, lingering near the curb like I was waiting to return something else. Maybe the forgotten umbrella from her bag. But panic set in. What if someone saw us talking? The whispers would only get worse. She nodded curtly from across the street, then turned and hurried inside, pretending to check her phone. I watched her go, confused. Had I done something wrong? The rejection stung more than I expected. I noticed her bike chained up outside her building, tire flat, chain loose. It looked neglected. On impulse, I grabbed my toolkit from the boot during a slow shift and fixed it quietly, tightening the chain and pumping the tire. No note this time, just left it better than I found. It felt good, like helping without strings. But the distance grew. We ended up under the same awning at a bus stop near Oxford Circus. She was waiting for a ride, umbrellas again, and I was between fares. Our eyes met. Hey, I said softly. Hi, she replied, voice tight. We stood there in silence, the rain drumming on the roof, people rushing by with curious glances. Was that pity? Judgment? Neither of us spoke more, just nodded goodbye when her bus came. The unspoken tension hung heavy. Why were we avoiding each other? Those strangers' eyes made every interaction feel loaded. As time passed, the small acts piled up, but so did the walls. I would see her walking to work and slow down, but she would quicken her pace. She would glance at my car parked nearby and look away. The rumors were not dying. If anything, they whispered louder in my head. I started questioning everything. Why help a stranger? Why care if she avoided me? But deep down, I knew that night had connected us in some weird way, and now the world was trying to tear it apart before it even began. Little did I realize how much worse it would get. The whispers did not stop. They multiplied, creeping into every corner of my life like the persistent London fog. It started small, but soon enough the misunderstandings piled up, turning that one rainy night into a shadow that followed me everywhere. I thought the distance between Eleanor and me would protect us, but it only made the isolation worse. Every time I caught myself glancing at her building during a drive by or wondering if she had finally picked up that coffee, a knot tightened in my chest. Why did helping someone feel like a crime, and why did it hurt so much that she was pulling away? For Eleanor, it hit harder at work. I did not know the details at first. How could I when we were barely speaking? But pieces trickled in through the grapevine. While I was idling between fares near her office, I overheard two Swedes chatting outside a cafe. Did you hear about Eleanor in HR? Folks are saying she had a late night thing at some hotel with a younger guy, no less. Sucks for her. Boss is on her case about maintaining professionalism. My blood ran cold. I ducked my head, pretending to check my phone, but the words burned. She was dealing with this alone. No wonder she avoided me. I imagined her in meetings, colleagues shooting side glances, whispers fading when she entered the room, her boss pulling her aside. Eleanor, we have heard some rumors, nothing concrete, but you know how these things can affect team morale. Just keep your personal life discreet, okay? She would nod, force a smile, but inside crumbling. She was strong. Hell, she had just gone through a divorce. But everyone has a breaking point. On my end, the hits came from unexpected places. My driver buddies, the ones I grabbed beers with after long shifts, started with the jabs. We were at our usual spot, a dive bar in Shoreditch, shooting pool when it came up. Callum, man, you have been moonlighting. One guy laughed, chalking his cue. Heard you were playing chauffeur to some older lady at a hotel. What? Ride sharing, not paying enough, switching to personal services? The group erupted in chuckles, but it landed like a punch. To a white boy from the blocks, huh? Poor and desperate. Bet those rich ladies love that. I forced a grin, muttered something about it being nonsense, but my face heated up. They did not know the truth, just rumors twisted into jokes. But it stung, reminding me of every time I had been judged for dropping out of university for driving instead of climbing some corporate ladder. Class stuff, age stuff, it all mixed into this toxic brew. Worse was when it hit home. Freya, my little sister, the reason I hustled so hard, she was scrolling on her phone while I cooked pasta. Callum, she asked, voice small, what is a gigolo? I froze, spoon mid stir. Where did you hear that? She showed me her screen, a local London forum thread. Saw this white guy in his 20s dropping off an older woman at a hotel in central London. Rainy night special. Hashtag London gossip. Comments piled on. Probably her toy boy. Desperate times. My stomach twisted. It is nothing, Freya. Just dumb people talking rubbish online. But she pressed. Is that you? Someone said a driver. Are you like a bad guy? Her eyes, wide and innocent, broke me. How do you explain to a teenager that kindness gets twisted into sleaze? No, kiddo, I helped someone in the rain, that is all. I hugged her, but inside rage simmered. This was not just about me, it was poisoning the people I loved. The misunderstandings kept stacking like bricks in a wall between us. Under another relentless drizzle, our paths crossed again on a crowded pavement near Covent Garden. She was hurrying from a meeting, briefcase in hand, no umbrella. I was finishing a drop off, spotting her from across the street. Without thinking, I jogged over, pulling out my spare umbrella from the car. Here, I said, holding it over her head as rain pelted my shoulders. She startled, then softened for a split second. Callum. But then her eyes darted around, people passing, umbrellas bobbing, maybe someone recognizing her. She took the umbrella hesitantly, silence stretched, awkward and heavy. Finally, she broke it, voice barely above the rain's drum. Are you mad at me for letting people think the worst about you? I shook my head, water dripping from my hair. Nah, it is not your fault, but I could not hold back. It is just my sister saw some stuff online, asked if I am some kind of escort. I did not know how to explain it without sounding defensive. Her face crumpled, eyes glistening. Not from the rain. God, I am sorry. At work, it is the same. Colleagues avoiding me, my boss hinting I need to watch my reputation like I am some scandal waiting to happen. She glanced away, voice cracking. I did not mean for this to blow back on you. We stood there, the umbrella shielding us from the downpour, but not the weight of it all. I wanted to say more. Tell her it was not her fault, that I would do it again. But a group of tourists brushed past, one muttering something about odd couple. She pulled back. I should go. And just like that, she hurried off, leaving me soaked and staring after her. From then on, the gap widened. We would spot each other in coffee queues, at crosswalks, even once at a grocery store. But our interactions shrank to nods, quick hellos, averted eyes. No more small gestures. I stopped leaving coffee. She stopped glancing my way. The rumors festered online. Local Facebook groups buzzing with that HR lady and her driver fling costing me fares. A couple of cancellations with notes like, heard you are shady, and her friendship's old pals distancing themselves. I lay awake nights staring at the ceiling, questioning everything. Why did a simple favor turn into this? Why judge us for age, for class, for just being human? The loneliness hit harder than ever, a deep ache that made London's crowded streets feel empty. And as the misunderstandings piled higher, I knew we could not avoid it forever. Something had to give. The breaking point came faster than I expected, like a storm cloud bursting after days of build up. I had been telling myself the rumors would fizzle out, people get bored, move on to the next scandal. But in a city like London, where everyone knows someone who knows someone, gossip has a way of snowballing. It started with a ping on my phone during a quiet shift. I was parked in a lot near Hyde Park, scrolling through apps for my next fare, when a notification popped up from a local news aggregator. Viral video sparks debate, late night hotel encounter raises eyebrows. My heart sank as I clicked. There it was, a grainy clip from the hotel security camera from that rainy night. Me helping Eleanor through the lobby, both of us drenched. My arm steadying her as we waited for the lift. The poster had captioned it, "Young white driver and older exec, rainy night rendezvous or something more, hashtag London drama, hashtag hotel hookup." Comments exploded. "She is old enough to be his mum, desperate much, bet he is in it for the cash." Typical gig economy side hustle, classy lady, HR should know better. I stared at the screen, bile rising in my throat. How the hell had this got out? A nosy clerk, that judgmental guest, it did not matter. The damage was done. Shares climbed into the hundreds, tags flying to local forums, and even some work chats. My boss at the ride sharing company messaged, "Callum, need you in the office. Got some complaints tied to a video policy review." Complaints? I had not done anything wrong, but the knot in my gut told me this was bad. Freya texted too. "Bro, is this you? People at school are talking." I replied with a thumbs up emoji, pretending it was fine, but inside fury boiled. This was not just about me anymore. It was destroying lives. I dragged myself to the company's hub in Shoreditch, a sterile office with fluorescent lights and motivational posters about safe rides. My manager, a no nonsense guy named Mike, sat me down in a conference room. "Look, Callum, we have had riders flag your profile saying you are involved in questionable stuff. This video is everywhere." He played it on his laptop, the awkward lobby shuffle looking damning out of context. "Company policy, no off duty entanglements that reflect poorly. We are suspending you pending review." Suspended? My mind raced. Freya needed her tuition. Rent was due. "Mike, it is not what it looks like." "I was just helping her in the rain. She is not even a fare." He sighed. "Does not matter what I think. Optics are bad. HR is on it." I left feeling gutted, like the world had labeled me an opportunist without a trial. I did not know Eleanor was facing her own firestorm until she showed up. Cars honking, pedestrians dodging puddles. I was back on the streets, squeezing in a few last fares before the suspension kicked in when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Callum, it is Eleanor. Where are you? We need to talk." Her voice was steady but edged with urgency. I pulled over near Covent Garden. "I am downtown. What is wrong?" "Everything. Meet me at your company's office now." She hung up, confused. I headed back, weaving through the traffic. When I arrived, she was already there, standing in the lobby like she owned the place. Tailored suit, hair pulled back, but eyes fierce. She spotted me and strode over. "They called you in too?" I nodded. "Suspended." Her face hardened. "Not on my watch." Before I could stop her, she marched to the front desk. "I need to speak to the manager about Callum." Mike emerged, looking puzzled. "Madam?" Eleanor did not flinch. "I am Eleanor Hayes, the woman in that video, and I am here to set the record straight. A few co-workers lingered, phones out, great, more fuel for the fire." She turned to them, voice clear and unwavering. "That night I was caught in the storm. Phone dead, keys lost. Callum saw me fall in the park and offered a ride. No charge, no strings. He walked me to the hotel because I had nowhere else. That is it. No hookup, no scandal, just decency in a crappy situation." Mike shifted uncomfortably. "We appreciate that, but the video shows nothing but help." She cut in. "If your company punishes good people for that, what does it say about you?" The room went quiet. I stepped forward, heart pounding. This was my mess too. I could not let her fight alone. "Mike, listen," I said, voice steady despite the shake in my hands. "We are just two strangers who crossed paths in the rain. She is dealing with her own crap. A recent divorce, long hours. I am busting my ass to support my sister. If helping someone gets twisted into this, what is left? No one would risk kindness anymore." Co-workers murmured, some nodded, others crossed arms, skeptical. One guy in the back whispered, "Still looks shady." But Mike paused, rubbing his chin. "All right, we will review it again. No suspension for now." As the crowd dispersed, whispers lingering like smoke, Eleanor turned to me in the hallway, her eyes softened, the fire dimming to something vulnerable. "I could not let them ruin you because of me." I swallowed hard. "Same here." "Thanks for coming." She glanced around, then leaned in closer, voice a whisper. "If it rains again, I would still call you." The words hung there, electric, cutting through the chaos. For the first time, the distance felt bridgeable. But as we parted her back to her world, the online storm raged on. Comments poured in. She is covering for him. Age gap screams, sugar mama. Dueling opinions. Some defended us as just human. Others piled on the hate. The video hit local news blogs, turning us into unwilling examples of modern misunderstandings. I fielded calls from nosy friends. Freya's school even buzzed about it. Eleanor texted later. Boss called me in too, said it reflects poorly, but I stood my ground. We were battered, but for once not alone. The confrontation did not erase the damage. Doubt lingered in every stare, every cancelled ride. But facing it head on cracked the wall we had built. As I drove home, rain starting again, I realized sometimes defending the truth means owning the mess, even if the world does not listen. After the confrontation blurred into a fragile kind of normal, where the noise of the outside world faded into the background and left us with nothing but quiet gestures. The viral clip did not disappear, it still floated around forums and group chats, but the edge had dulled. People moved on to fresher scandals, and the stares became fewer. Still, the damage lingered like a bruise that would not quite heal. I kept my head down, focusing on fairs and Freya's school schedule, but every rainy afternoon reminded me of that night, and somehow, without words, Eleanor and I found ways to stay connected through the silence. It started small. I swung by a corner cafe near her building before my first ride. I bought two coffees, one black for me, one with a splash of almond milk for her, remembering her order from that chaotic night. I left hers at the reception desk with a simple note, for the rainy days ahead, take care, Callum. I did not expect anything back, but when I checked it during a break, the cup was gone. In its place, tucked under the saucer, was a small sticky note in neat handwriting. Thank you, still standing. No signature, but I knew it was her way of saying we were not done. From there, it became a habit, unspoken but steady. On rainy mornings, I would park near her office and wait under an awning with an extra umbrella. She never acknowledged it directly, just a quick nod as she passed, taking the umbrella without a word. Once she left a small bakery bag on the passenger seat of my car while I was inside grabbing lunch. Inside a muffin and another note, fuel for the road. Simple things, but they said everything. We were protecting each other in the only way we could, quietly, without drawing attention. Later, I was parked in central London finishing a fair when a group of guys from a nearby construction site spotted me. One of them, a loudmouth in a hard hat, leaned against my car. Hey, are you not the driver from that video? The one with the older lady? Bet those rides pay extra, huh? His buddies laughed. Heat rose in my face, but before I could respond, Eleanor appeared from across the street. She had been heading to a meeting, briefcase in hand, but she stopped dead when she heard them. She walked straight over, stepping between me and the group. That is enough, she said, voice sharp but calm. He helped me in the rain. That is it. If you are going to mock someone for basic decency, save it for someone who deserves it. The guys froze, caught off guard by her authority. One mumbled an apology, and they scattered. She turned to me, eyes softening. You okay? I nodded, throat tight. Yeah, thanks. She lingered for a second, then walked away without another word. But that moment, her standing up for me in public, shifted something. The rumors quieted a bit more after that. People saw her defend me, and it humanized us both. Over time, the habit solidified into something comforting. Rainy days meant shared umbrellas and quick exchanges by the curb. On clear afternoons, I would find a pastry or a note on my seat, drive safe. In return, I would leave coffee or a small snack at her desk when I could slip in unnoticed. We never talked about labels or futures. It was all in the silence, the way our eyes met across a crowded street, the brief brush of fingers when handing over an umbrella. Freya noticed I was happier, less stressed. You are smiling more, she said over dinner. I just shrugged. Things are better. After a particularly long shift, I parked outside her building during a light drizzle. She came out, umbrella in hand, and walked over. Still here? She asked softly. Always, I replied. We stood under the awning, the rain tapping above us. She looked at me, eyes searching. Sometimes I wonder if this is enough. I met her gaze. For now it is. She nodded, then whispered, maybe on that rainy night I did not just need help, I needed someone to stay by my side. The words hung there heavy and true. We did not kiss or make promises. We just stood together, letting the silence say what words could not. Outside, the city kept buzzing with judgment and noise, but in our quiet corner, we had found a way to heal through small acts, shared umbrellas, and the unspoken understanding that some connections do not need a spotlight to matter. And for the first time, I felt like I was not just driving through life anymore. I was building something real, one rainy day at a time. Sometimes the most ordinary night can unveil an extraordinary truth. Kindness is brave because it risks being misunderstood. Callum's impulse to rescue a stranger in a storm began as a quiet gesture of decency, yet gossip twisted it into scandal. He lost fares, she faced whispers at work, and both discovered how easily society weaponizes difference, age, class, appearance to fill the gaps it never bothers to ask about. But here's the lesson: the storm does not decide who we are, our response to it does. Rather than retreat, Callum kept offering umbrellas, coffees, and small repairs, proving that compassion is a habit, not a headline. Eleanor, refusing to let rumors define them, spoke up for the truth and for him. Together, they showed that dignity grows when we defend each other, and that real connection is built in the uncelebrated moments, the spare hoodie, the fixed bicycle, the patient silence. So, next time you see someone slip on life's wet leaves, be the hand that steadies them no matter who is watching. Let's choose empathy over easy judgment, because every act of unguarded humanity plants a quiet seed of hope in this noisy world. If this story moved you, drop your thoughts in the comments. And for more tales that celebrate everyday courage, do hit subscribe and ring the bell. Your support keeps this community growing.